Hey everyone, my name is Paul Bamson. Welcome to a brand new segment of You're Doing It Wrong called YDIW Shorts. Now there's so many things that I want to show you guys that don't actually warrant a full session. And so I'm going to cram them into these little sessions that I call shorts. And the first one that I'm going to talk about today is Live Paint in Illustrator. There's so many cool things you can do with it, not just painting in between lines that you got from Rhino or a different program, but actually taking advantage of its capabilities to the fullest and really understanding how Illustrator works and how you can use it better. So let's go ahead and jump into it. There are 3 ways that you can use Live Paint that I found really interesting that I've picked up over time. So the first one is actually providing a profile line automatically to your drawing. So you've seen diagrams that look really nice that have these nice profile lines and you want to add them to your own drawing. But tracing the entire drawing or tracing certain elements in the drawing takes a super long time. So you actually don't have to do that. Let me show you a really quick way using Live Paint that you can achieve this. So I have a drawing here that I got from Rhino using Make 2D. It has visible lines and hidden lines behind it, you can see here. But I actually want to add a nice thick profile line around the entire drawing, and I'm not going to take the time to trace it because I don't have to. So one thing that's really important to note when using Live Paint is to always make copies of all of your line work that you're live painting, because Live Paint groups them all into one, and once that occurs, you can no longer edit that line work without getting rid of the Live Paint effect. So always make copies of your line work first. And so my visible line work is really all I need for this portion of the tutorial. So I'm going to go ahead and make a copy. I'm going to hold Alt and drag the layer up, and this new layer is going to become my Live Paint layer. So I'm going to click on it, go over to Object, Live Paint, Make. Now this layer has become a Live Paint layer. I'm going to go ahead and label it as such just to keep clear layer organization, which is really important. Now what I'm going to do from here is actually flip the color to black or white. You want the color to be completely solid, right? It's going to fill in every single portion with a color, which is one of the great powers of Live Paint. When lines are closed, Live Paint can actually fill those spaces with a color. And because I had everything selected, the second I changed it to black as the fill, it automatically filled in the object. Now what I'm going to do from here is do what's called an expand. Now expand will actually take the Live Paint and make it regular shape geometry that you can use to further manipulate later. So the expand button, once you have a Live Paint object selected, is up here. So go ahead and click on that. And you can see that they're grouped together, but each one of these is now, I am now able, like let's say if I grab it and ungroup it, I'm now able to grab each one of these and move them, right? So that's a really quick way to create color and shape. But in this case, I'm actually going to select those, go over to a powerful tool called Pathfinder, which you guys should definitely be using. If you're not, start using Pathfinder. So many great tools. You've got tools like Unite, which we're going to use, minus front, intersect, divide, and a number of other really useful tools for manipulating vector shapes. In this case, we're going to use Unite, and that's going to turn that shape into one vector shape. And what's great is you can flip that from a solid fill to a stroke and now make that stroke thicker, right? Now I have this beautiful profile line around my entire drawing, and I didn't have to take the time to trace it all. So I'm going to show that again, but in a different scenario, and then we'll move on to version 2 of using Live Paint in interesting ways. And so this version, I've got a series of buildings here that are on a site of mine. I'm going to go ahead and make a copy of those layers. Again, the layer color is black, which is not that great, so I'm going to make it something else so I can see it better. I'm actually going to select all the layers in relation to the building. This is straight from Rhino, so it's a little messy, but we'll make it look nice. So I'm going to select all of those layers, and I'm going to go up to Edit, and I'm going to go up to Copy, and then I'm going to do the same thing and hit Paste in Place, and I'm going to toss them all into one layer. Again, these are copies, not the original line work. Always make copies when you're working in Live Paint. So I'm going to go ahead and select it. Again, Object, Live Paint, Make. Then I'm going to flip the color. So I'm going to take off the stroke because the stroke is not necessary. And I'm going to fill them with any color. So we'll go with black because I want it to be a solid fill inside it, right? So now that I've got the solid fill, I'm going to select them again, go up to expand, and then go over to unite. And now they're all solid shapes that I can flip the stroke on, and I can make slightly thicker than the other line work so you can see them clearly. And now I've created a really nice building diagram without doing that much work. And I still have my original visible and hidden layers that I can change the line work with. Okay, so let's move on to version number 2. Right, so I've got these pluses here. This is a spot elevation diagram that I did for one of my classes. And I exported it directly from Rhino. Instead of doing Make 2D, I used the export directly to AI, and that gave me ISO curves. And the ISO curves aren't something that I want to mess with. I want these to be full pluses, not 4 quadrant pluses. So I'm going to use Life Paint again, a similar way as the first version, but a slightly different. So actually not really slightly different. It's kind of actually the exact same process. So I'm going to grab the plus layer. I'm going to make a copy of it. Again, always make copies. Then I'm going to go over to Object, Live Paint, Make, and then flip the color to solid. Then I'm going to go over to Expand, hit the button, and then unite the colors. So I'm going to hide the old plus layer, and now I'm going to ungroup it. Now each plus is a solid object that I can flip forward and backward, and all of those extra elements are now removed, which saves you a lot of time and energy going forward. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and show you guys the last tip that we can use with Live Paint. I've got a drawing composition here that I did for one of my classes, and it's a section drawing of a cliff area with trees and sedges, and I want to go ahead and use Live Paint to paint the rock behind it. Just to show you what I mean, I've got a section line, but I also have the background rock, and that background rock was quickly drawn, and it doesn't have a bottom. Now I could go ahead and fill in each shape or trace each shape so it's closed and then I can fill it with a fill, but I can just go ahead and use Live Paint to quickly speed up that process. And so to go ahead and set this up, I'm going to create 2 more layers here. I'm going to create a sky fill zone and a ground fill zone using the section line. So I'm going to go ahead and make 2 copies of that section line. I'm going to call the top one sky and the bottom one ground. I'm going to turn the other 2 off and work on the sky first. I'll grab my pen tool and go ahead and fill in the top portion here to create that fill zone. And I'm going to do the same thing with the ground. Okay. And now I'm going to go ahead and create my Live Paint layer. So I'm going to turn on everything that matters here. And I'm going to select it all and make a copy. Again, always make copies. So I'm going to go over to Edit, Copy, and then Edit, Paste in Place, and then create a new layer and pop all of those copies onto that layer. Okay. So now I've got a layer that has all the line work in it. I'm going to go over to Object, Live Paint, Make, and then we're going to turn off the stroke because a stroke is not necessary, right? Because this is just fills with Live Paint. So if I turn off the original lines, you won't see anything even though information is there, right? It's all Live Paint information. So I'm going to go ahead and move it below all of my objects here. Call this Live Paint, just so I know. I'm going to turn on those lines again. In fact, I don't need the sky and ground on anymore. And I'm going to turn off those trees for now. And I'm going to go ahead and create a composition on these rocks using patterns that I've created. And so I highly recommend that you create your own custom patterns that you really like. I've created some diagonals that are thin, thick, horizontal, vertical, and with a series of grid dots and things like that. So these are patterns that I've created over time that I use in a lot of my drawings. And I'm going to use some of them here for this drawing. So I'm going to go ahead and use my Live Paint. It's the second one down under the Shape Builder tool. And you can see the zones now popping up, right? So I'm going to go ahead and grab one of these patterns here and just start painting in. Seems a little dark for this purpose, so we'll try the other one. That's good. We'll grab the dotted one, and we'll grab some others, just to represent different types of rock here. And it makes for a nice composition. And let's say I want to edit some of these, right? So let's say I wanted this one to be bigger now than it was. What I can do is actually take the live paint, expand it, and now only the information that has been filled, since I turned off the stroke, only the information that has been filled was expanded, which is actually kind of cool. Of course, first you have to ungroup it, so let's go ahead and ungroup it. And check out that information, right? So this is something that you can then further manipulate, and it saves you a lot of time in the future. So I hope you guys like those tips. Be sure to check out the other You're Doing It Wrong sessions and shorts coming forward. So see you guys later. And now you're doing it right. Be sure to check out the other You're Doing It Wrong sessions. Thanks for watching.